the fact that 45 had the proposal of dumping criminal illegals into these sanctuary cities to punish them shouldn't be a surprise. In fact, it should validate things that we have been saying for decades. Look at these locations. Look at these sanctuary cities. Okay? Now, don't we have a significant presence in these communities? I know it would have affected these areas at large as a whole, but it would have affected our communities also. Now think about other things we've been talking about negative or harmful circumstances being planted in our communities. Think about cocaine and marijuana, for example, and even heroin. Okay? Now crack is maybe a little bit easier to make domestically, but cocaine, to my knowledge, the coca plant, is primarily only grown in Ecuador, Bolivia, and the Colombia area, in that region in South America. Yeah, there were some drug dealers who were able to establish some connections, but you meaning to tell me that we had all those pipelines, we had all of the logistics, we had all of the transport and the commerce to get it from point A to point B past the United States government and law enforcement for all of those years to get drugs in the community? Or were there other factors at play that the government allowed to happen or even participated where they brokered the deal? You know, I don't think we're really responsible for all that cocaine coming into the country. What about marijuana? So we were just growing all of these marijuana plants locally in our communities and then taking the marijuana and distributing it throughout the neighborhoods? Or was it allowed to be brought in from Mexico, from Central America, South America, Latin America, and distributed throughout the country? You know? Come on now, think about it. But then you want to talk about a war on drugs? Just say no. Mandatory minimums, 3 strikes, you know, no tolerance policies, crime bill. Okay. And now you want to build a wall. Okay, what good is it building a wall going to do when the government is the main drug dealer, when the government is the main supplier? Heroin. Okay, that comes from the poppy plant. Opioids. I've never seen any opioid plantations in the ghetto. I've never seen any opioid or any poppy fields in the projects, or marijuana, or the coca plant. I haven't seen these things. Where are all these drugs coming from? So just like the government could dump illegals into certain areas, don't you think that they could be dumping drugs? That they could have dumped drugs over the years, over the decades? Come on now. Let's look at all these guns. But then they want to have gun control and the assault weapons ban. Even Reagan in the 60s, when he was the governor of California, when the Black Panthers and the Black Panther Party rose up, Black Liberation Party rose up, here comes the rifle ban in California when we started arming up. Now, just as an example, Chicago has some of the toughest gun regulations in the country. There are no gun stores in Chicago. There are no gun stores in Cook County. Not only can you not buy firearms in that area, you cannot buy ammunition in Chicago. You cannot buy ammunition in Cook County. But Chicago has some of the highest gun violence in the nation. Now, part of this, I think, is done by the police and other law enforcement agencies. But as for the guns themselves, how do you think these guns and the ammunition gets into the neighborhoods, into the local area, in the county? Once again, we're just controlling all these supply chains. We're controlling the logistics. We're controlling the distribution. We have a cartel that can smuggle these weapons and ammunition into the local area. You know, they're coming across one of the Great Lakes from Canada. Yeah, that's where it's coming from. Come on now. The government drops off these guns. The government distributes these guns, just like you've had gun running operations like Fast and Furious and Wide Receiver, where the weapons were supposed to be going into Mexico, and Mexico has lots of problems. And we see the influence that the American government has had into Latin America. You don't think that they've been doing the same thing to Chicago and to other cities? I mean, Trump's proposal, 45, he just proved our point for us. Even though his proposal was shot down, it just validates what we've been saying.